football season, and that means it's bug season. Heck, who am I kidding? It's always bug season in Texas. And that's why you need Grandeur Pest Solutions in your corner. They're locally owned and operated. They're trained, they're trustworthy, and they have a proven record as they have been in business for almost 10 years. They provide pest control against ants, bed bugs, bees, roaches, fleas, wasps, mosquitoes, rodents, spiders. If it crawls and you don't like it, they're probably going to take care of it for you. Now, they serve all of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and they're locally owned. These two guys have been running this business since 2013, and every year they get bigger and bigger. But you know what they still do? They still have great customer service. In fact, if you get a hold of them, they're usually going to have your quote and your job ready to go within 48 hours. That's pretty good. Now, you can call them for a free estimate at 469-809-1769. You can find them online at Grandeur4, that's the number 4, shore.com. You can also find them on Facebook. Just type in Grandeur Pet Solutions, and we are so happy that they're title sponsor for OutDrank The Coverage in 2023.
Hey, I mean, that was a good point.
I think we might start seeing some go back.
Fuck, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
It's time to talk a little football. Hello, everybody. Terry Bennett, intern Noe. It's a very special OutDrank The Coverage happy hour live stream the day after the Super Bowl. As we're going to be talking the Super Bowl, we're going to be talking the commercials, some of the trailers we saw, all the fun stuff. And we're just going to be having ourselves a nice little live stream tonight. Intern Noe, how you do, and how you be drinking, and what you be drinking.
I do fine. Thank you for asking.
Yes, sir.
Today I'm doing a cocktail, just Dr. Pepper and Wild Turkey 101.
Oh, nice.
Wanted something a little bit lighter after yesterday's shenanigans with you.
Yeah. Had a good time.
Had a great time. Great food, great company, great everything. Great drinks.
I mean, you and I were the great company. The other two there, they were just there wasting our time.
Yes. So how are you, buddy? What are you drinking?
I wanted to go light as well. So I'm hydrating. I'm hydrating with Gatorade. You know, I'm just all I'm doing is drinking Gatorade to stay hydrated today. That's all. Nothing else. Nothing over here. I'm doing Gator Tails, which is fancy because apparently you didn't even know you bought me a Grey Goose bottle. I didn't even know you bought me one until I left your house. I guess I just walked out with it and I didn't realize it until like 40 minutes when I was home.
That was hilarious. I can't believe, it's just a funny story from one of our many funny drinking day stories.
And it was really funny yesterday because we spent so much time. We were just kind of talking about some of those old goofy stories, some of the having to punch a friend out because they got too drunk or, peeing in back rooms, things like that. Yeah. But all right, so let's go ahead and get into it. By the way, if you have any questions, you can just message whatever you're listening or whatever you're watching on. If it has a chat thing or a comment, leave it. And I'm going to be checking those through the day, trying to keep up. We got to give us time to get used to doing this complete live stuff. We've done a couple things with like state championship or Monday night or things that we were watching something and commenting on. This is just going to be we're going to kind of loosely plan it every couple weeks. Basically, the idea is 2 live streams a month. And it's just going to be us doing this right here. Like, again, today's a little bit easier because we're going to be talking about the Super Bowl and some things with the NFL as we close up the season of 2023. But, during the year, we're going to talk just talk sports, talk movies, talk pop culture, talk about some of our upcoming shows, because, this technically right here is the very first off-season show for OutDrank The Coverage.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the movie days too. Next month we got the new Roadhouse that comes out.
Roadhouse.
And then I was telling you before we got on air that Deadpool, I'm really looking forward to how he's going to be introduced into the MCU. And he might be the one that actually saves it. Even in the trailer, he was calling himself Marvel Jesus.
Yeah.
So it's pretty funny. But anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about movies, Rangers, Texas Rangers. Yeah.
Mavericks. Anything that's big in the sports world in that moment. Like I say, sometimes they'll be like this, where we kind of have an idea of what we're wanting to talk about.
Yeah.
As far as we're talking about the Super Bowl and some things like that, I figured we could talk, Super Bowl, all that entails, commercials, again, trailers for what we saw movie wise. Then we'll talk a little bit about where everybody goes from here. And when I say where everybody goes, let's say we'll talk about going into the 2024 season for the Chiefs, the Niners, the NFC East, and the AFC South, because that encompasses Dallas and Houston. And if you're listening or watching and you want us to talk about your team, well, then just drop that in the comments. Just say, hey, what about this team? And we'll give a comment on that. And like I said, we're going to kind of do this every couple of weeks, twice a month, basically. And they'll go, and we said, since it's going to be called Happy Hour, we'll go a minimum an hour. Usually go about an hour and a half, and then just kind of let the show go from where that, if we're enjoying what we're talking about, and we just want to keep talking, or if we want to end it, but we're going to at least always go for about an hour. All right. So let me ask you this, get time for people to get in. We've got 131 viewers right now. Hello, everybody. So give me an idea for you. I mean, I know this, but I'm acting like I don't. Give me an idea for you now, sports wise. Where does your sports radar go for now, or do you pack it in until football, or do you what are you focusing on now until football season?
Just what happens with the NBA and hockey. I follow those most days of the week, just checking scores, standings, trades. But I'll probably start shifting toward that, and then probably occasionally going on YouTube and looking at some old videos like you and I both love to do.
Yeah.
Looking at one last week about just random unsung heroes or underrated players that no one talks about. And that was like 2 hours worth of my viewing. So I'll probably do a lot of that. Follow some of the spring training news in baseball. So I'll still be more active in the other three major American sports, but yeah. I might take a little bit of a break from football. How about you?
Yeah, I always take a break from football. That's why I never could get into spring football. I'm very much a man of seasons, because I grew up. That's how I was. You played baseball in the summer, you played basketball in the winter, so you liked those sports when you were playing. And so when you were playing those sports, that's all I want to play. I didn't want to play baseball in the winter and things like that. So like football, I need that time. I appreciate football because there's that time. There's that buildup. Like right now, I don't really care about football. I said I don't really care. I mean, I'm still watching YouTube stuff. I'm caught up right now in the 1983 Cowboys. I've been watching all the games. Like I fall asleep to that. And I'll do stuff like that. But I need the time away from football so that I can enjoy football when it comes around, and that anticipation, and that, July, you're ready, ready for camp, and oh God, just get through camp, no injuries. We're all excited for the first preseason game until 3 minutes into that said game, and then we're like, this sucks. But I love all that about it. I don't want to go from football to football to football to football.
We bring up the 83 Cowboys. It reminds me of our look back videos, and I think that game against Washington at the end of the year, I think both of them were 12-2, if I'm not mistaken. And then Washington blew us out 31-10, or there's some ridiculous score. It was definitely a big blowout at Texas Stadium. That kind of signaled, we're not among the elite anymore. And then they lost the next game. They lost the playoff game to the Rams.
Yeah,
that's an interesting season to look back at, because at that point, and going into that season, they were still considered elite. They had just come off their third straight conference championship game appearance.
Yep.
So, yeah.
That was a good game. They lost to the Rams in Texas Stadium, 24-17, I think the score. I searched for it because in 1983, I went and saw the Cowboys and the Cardinals play on Thanksgiving Day. And so I've always been looking for that broadcast, and I finally found that. Somebody finally posted that broadcast in the summer, and I kind of bookmarked it because I couldn't really watch it at the time. And I wanted to watch it because I was 7. So the things that or 8, the things that I remember were very like, on that line of, was it a real memory or is it, something something I'm creating in my mind? And so to see some of the plays that I remember and they happen exactly so that team, 83 team, what they were most known for is they always got behind. Like almost every time they gave up a drive to give up points and they'd be down 7-0 or 10-0. And then they'd come back. And that's what I remember from that Cardinal game was that they hit, Roy Green on a 60-yard touchdown. And it was like the 3rd play of the game. And it was like the 7th play, but it was the 3rd play for the Cardinals. And it was a 71-yard touchdown. And so for that to validate in my mind, you know how it is. Sometimes because I've had that conversation with my parents before where you go, okay, I remember something this way. How do y'all remember it? That, to get perspective, because sometimes what you think is just completely your time frames are confused or you're just completely mixed up.
Roy Green.
Yep.
Him and Neil Lomax, two of the most underrated quarterback and receiver tandems in NFL history.
Well, yeah, those Cardinals teams, man, of the late 70s, early 80s, dude, they were very, very, very tough, and they were always a tough out. And they were just. It sucked for them to be the okay team in what was at the time a great division. At least 3 teams were always great. Now, the weird thing is it was always the Cardinals and like the Giants in the late 70s were down, the Eagles for a while. But it was always the Cardinals with them too. So they just could never break it. But yeah, Cardinals were the team that, as a kid, that's the team that I remember being the biggest thorn in the side. They always seemed, and even in the 90s. We were watching the 93 stuff yesterday, and it was the Rodney Peete game against the Cardinals when he came in out there after Aikman got hurt, and it just won one of those tough battles against them. They were down all game, ended up winning 27-24, I think, or 27-20. I can't remember the exact score, but yeah, just the Cardinals, man, that was always the tough team. So anyway, so that's why I've got on the 83. And I'm like you, baseball, and hockey and all that. I don't follow, watch every game. I do watch hockey a lot. I always show you, I'll put it on the laptop while I'm watching other stuff. And that's how I watch a lot of the side sports. I don't really, unless it's the playoffs. If it's the playoffs, I'll focus in more. But even then, a lot of times I just put it on the laptop.
Looks like we got a question from Jeremy Hargrove.
Oh, it's Jeremy from Columbus.
Hey guys, I'm a pissed off Ravens fan. Do you feel John Harbaugh should be on the hot seat next year? Also, do you guys think Lamar Jackson can get it done in the playoffs? 2 very good questions.
No, I don't know if John Harbaugh really should be on the hot seat. I know you're going to hate this because you're a pissed off Raven fan, Jeremy, but I legitimately think John Harbaugh is one of the best coaches in the league. I think what he does with what the Ravens have is absolutely phenomenal. It doesn't mean he's a perfect coach by any stretch. And I don't necessarily, I don't want to blame Lamar, being a fan of Romo and now to an extent Dak, but especially Romo. Being a fan of Romo, you get tired of that whole, can't do it in big games, blah, blah, blah. But we also got to be honest. Lamar Jackson in that game held the ball too long. He looked, I don't want to use the term lazy because that's a state of mind, but he was just he was lazy with the ball back there. He took his time. He wasn't on the balls of his feet. He wasn't looking to run. And I don't know what happened. I don't know. It's just like he locked up almost.
And it's like I told you when we reviewed that game against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. They should just give it one more year, kind of like with the 2024 Cowboys. Just go all in. Give Lamar Jackson an offseason with Monken's offense. He made great strides toward the end of the season.
Yeah.
Like you said, he held the ball just a little bit too long. You got to have faith in him. I mean, he's won the MVP award twice for a reason. Harbaugh being there, he's a great coach. He's winning different ways. That's a mark of a great coach, someone that's willing to change. I don't think he's on the hot seat per se, but his lack of playoff success since they won the 2012 Super Bowl kind of I mean, if I was a Ravens fan, yeah, I probably might feel some type of way about it. But yeah, I just see John Harbaugh as a lifer there. I think he'll coach there another 5 years at least.
Oh, I do too. I do too. Now I could, I guess, see a case where maybe if things do get rough, he ends up leaving and just going on to his brother's staff for a year or two. I guess I could see that, but I'm like you. I don't know. I think of this when I think of the Steelers, I think of Tomlin. When I think of the Ravens, I think of Harbaugh. It'll be weird when there's a day when he, and I do legitimately believe he is a top 3 coach. I mean, this is a dude that came as a special teams coach.
Yep.
That doesn't mean he doesn't know football. It's the exact opposite. It means he knows such football so well that he's not coming with some special scheme, or he's not coming with some special, how they do. No, he just knows football in and out. And their team, the one thing they've got to work on, though, and it's the same thing, Dallas, they got to be more disciplined when it comes to penalties at the wrong time, because that hurt them all year, and it really hurt them in that championship game.
Yeah, it really did. And I really think if they had another chance at it, they would win the game. They just, again, don't get rid of some of they already lost their defensive coordinator. McDonald's up in Seattle. Just keep everything else intact. You have a great defense. You have a great offense.
Yep.
Just get another offseason in, gel more. And this is going to be a dangerous team going into 2024. I think they might be the favorites to win the Super Bowl next season.
All right. Ken Sprague joined the chat, and he says he thinks Shanahan is more likely to be in trouble in San Francisco than Harbaugh is, but neither is likely, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't think Shanahan's in trouble in San Francisco. I know everybody's going to say this is the second time, third time that he had a double-digit lead and lost. But the offense yesterday, other than at times not being efficient, but hey, guess what? You're playing the number 3 defense in the league. But I mean, it wasn't like the offense just completely spit the bit and had a terrible game, or that there was these big coaching blunders that, oh my God, how could he make that? So I think he still gets a pass. I mean, you still got a team to the Super Bowl. You've got a roster that's pretty young. You are going to start worrying about some salary cap stuff, but I mean, let's not act like San Francisco is going away anytime soon.
They're not. Obviously they lost Super Bowl 58 in overtime, second overtime ever. In my opinion, it was just a chess match. It was so evenly matched, and then special teams was kind of like the main draw of the first 3 quarters of the game.
Yeah.
But Shanahan's been there 7 years. He's been to the Super Bowl twice. He's been to countless conference championship games. Those first 2 years were kind of rocky, but they kind of figured out in 19, and then COVID and injuries happened. Honestly, if Drake Greenlaw doesn't tear his ACL running onto the field in the second quarter, it's a whole different game.
Yeah, I thought it was Achilles.
Oh, might have been Achilles.
Well, I know they had said he had Achilles tendonitis and stuff, and so that's why they expect. I just hope he didn't snap it, because if he snapped it, he's basically gone next year. Yeah, I know Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, that was never going to happen. And especially and also as a linebacker, his movement on that is going to be. I don't know. That just sucks. That sucks for him, because you and I noticed it in that Cowboy game last year, and then I noticed it in the Cowboy game this year, that dude, for all the talk about Fred Warner's awesome. This dude might be the best off the ball linebacker, not named, Patrick Queen or Rohan Smith, however they run their scheme in the Ravens, because they kind of switch it off ball. But yeah, that sucks for them. But yeah, I think the Niners are okay. Again, going into next year, we haven't had draft. We haven't had big free agent moves, but right now, I still see it as San Francisco, Philadelphia, Detroit, Dallas, and then let's see what happens with everybody else.
Yeah, with the coaching moves, it's kind of curious, because this season, I had Seattle in that Detroit spot like that. So, going in the season, it was either San Francisco, Philly, or Dallas going to represent the NFC. It ended up being San Francisco, and I had a 4th team. I thought it was going to be Seattle. It ended up being Detroit. If Detroit can figure out how to have a better defense, I think they'll be pretty dangerous. I think they need more talent. It seems they really like Aaron Glenn. So yeah. I think they should get better secondary talent or more depth there. I think that'll be a big game changer, and another pass rusher to complement Aiden Hutchinson.
Well, and at times their defense looked really good in that first half against San Francisco. By the way, we have from the chat, Icelandic potato is naked and has a cactus up his behind. Well, congratulations there, Icelandic potato. You've won the Cactus of the Year award.
He already outdrank the coverage.
Right, you already outdrank us. I hadn't even got started. I need to get that into overtime. But yeah, we go back to what we talked about blaming and stuff. I don't know. I don't blame the Niners for this loss. I don't blame. I mean, yeah, Jake Moody misses an extra point. But I'm talking about I don't blame this decision costs you. It's the Chiefs. They're in a dynasty. This is what they do, and so I think this is one of those few times where you tip the hat to the victor. And I mean, golly, I don't know where this is going to end. But we all talked about, hey, we'll never see another one like Tom Brady. And holy crap, Pat Mahomes is really kind of ahead of that curve already.
Yeah, second youngest quarterback to win 3 Super Bowls. He's doing it. He did it two different ways. We had a top receiver, then he doesn't have a top wide receiver. He still has Kelsey. He wins with his arm, with his legs. He's just unbelievable. It just that arm strength he has, the mind he has. It takes a family to build a team, and he has a great front office support, all-time great head coach, players around him that just want to win. It's unbelievable. I thought we would have to wait 10, 15 years, or maybe even more than 20 years to find another Brady, and we found him, and he might be more talented.
All right, Ken Sprague asked, who do we think is the best head coach coordinator hire? As far as everybody that's been hired at the moment, there's still probably a late change or two that we're not going to know about. He says most people say it's the Chargers, but Seattle's right there too. Now, Ken Sprague is a Seattle Seahawks fan. I guess, John Harbaugh or Jim Harbaugh, I guess he's the best. I don't know what has changed since he left, pro football. Will there be an adjustment, all that kind of fun stuff. But I mean, just as far as what you think of as far as best roster and ready to win, I think Harbaugh to Chargers is probably the best one.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the other ones. So right now, all the head coaching vacancies have been filled. Dan Quinn with the Commanders, Mike McDonald with the Seahawks, Harbaugh with the Chargers, Pierce with the Raiders, Mayo with the Patriots, Brian Callahan with the Titans, Raheem Morris, Atlanta, Canales with Carolina. Yeah, the best head coaching hire this offseason was Jim Harbaugh. Coordinator, unsure. I guess I would maybe go with Chargers. I just don't really know. I trust Jim Harbaugh. He's done it at every level. He's done it with the 49ers. He did it with San Diego University. He did it with Stanford Cardinal. He's done it everywhere. He's done it the same way. So I'm wondering what that Charger roster is going to look like in 2024.
So I got to ask you. So this was one of those kind of funny things in my mind that it kind of grew. But this goes off Jeremy talking about the Ravens, and don't worry, Ken. I'm gonna talk about Seattle's hire in a second, but I see a world where the Ravens and Chargers trade quarterbacks. Because I'm telling you right now, I love Justin Herbert. You love Justin Herbert. The world loves Justin Herbert. Apparently, Harbaugh claims he loves Justin Herbert. But I can tell you this, unless something's radically changed, Justin Herbert's skill set is not what Jim Harbaugh wants at quarterback. He wants tough as nails, grind you down, run the ball when needed, in AFC North 30-degree type of quarterback. And I can see a world where the Harbaughs get together and say, I have what you need, and you have what I need. Let's make it.
Yeah, it's funny because he was that gritty quarterback in his playing days, Chicago, the Colts. And then he was like that at Michigan University when he was their quarterback in the 80s. And then he becomes a head coach.
Yep.
And he has Andrew Luck in college. He has a combination of Colin Kaepernick and Alex Smith in the pros. Alex Smith was more a Jim Harbaugh top guy. Colin Kaepernick, though, he has more of that Lamar Jackson, very diverse quarterback, just in what he can do with his legs and his arm.
if Colin Kaepernick, if this was 4 years ago, I think Colin Kaepernick's playing for the Chargers this year.
I mean, he's not 40, but he's in his mid to late 30s now. So yeah, I don't see Kaepernick making a comeback in the NFL. But man, maybe he was praising Herbert just to drive up his trade value, for all we know.
Well, I mean, I'm not going word for word here, but I sure do seem to remember him talking about Alex Smith that same way. And Alex Smith was never comfortable as the starter there. Harbaugh liked him, but Harbaugh realized he had limitations.
And Andy Reid kind of saw those limitations when he got moved over to the Chiefs. They did well. I mean, Kelsey liked him. The Chiefs liked him. He played well. It's just you knew there was a ceiling with Alex Smith, and for the Chiefs, that was like the divisional round.
Exactly right there. You knew that, and it's okay. That is okay. And so you have to make the decision as a coach. Can I build enough around that guy to where we can get past his ceiling as a team? Or do I need to find somebody else who can attain that ceiling? And you just have to make that decision. And Shanahan, and again, this is one of those where I think maybe sometimes he's too cool for school, trying to be the smartest guy in the room. How about you use the quarterbacks that are good and not always feel like you have to go different? Because, like, I still think Jimmy G in that offense was perfect. Now, again, his issue is he just couldn't stay healthy. But I don't know. And this isn't a knock on Purdy. Purdy was perfectly okay yesterday. But when you needed him to make a couple plays, he couldn't make those plays.
Well, it was a combination of that and well-timed blitzes by the Chiefs. Just that one in overtime to make him kick a field goal. And then I remember a couple other times during regulation. It was impressive that they were able to time those blitzes perfectly.
Yeah.
But yeah, Purdy's not the reason they lost. He played a perfectly fine game. Yeah. So him throwing an incomplete pass on third down in overtime, you see that, and then you see Mahomes running for a first down on fourth down.
Yeah.
There is a difference, obviously.
Exactly, and that's okay. Again, that's okay. Jeremy. Okay, so hang on, Jeremy. Going back to Ken, I guess Mike McDonald's a good hire. You're, as a fan of the Seahawks, you seem to be good with it, so good. I don't really know enough. I don't know enough that I know that you and I talked about it last week, that, you know, Seattle's one of those teams that they're competitive, but they're dangerously close to being where they're always at the bottom of the playoffs. And that makes it, I mean, we can say this as a Cowboy fan, that makes it harder to move on because you're so close. And you're like, man, we just get one more player. And then 5 years later, you're still in that same spot. So is this move going to move the playoff football for Seattle? I mean, we both feel that the Niners are not going anywhere. The Rams aren't going anywhere. I mean, all of a sudden, the NFC West is back to being, holy crap, that's a really, really tough division, because I don't think the Cardinals are as bad as what people think they are.
I don't think so. Oh, excuse me. Mm-hmm. Oh, I was about to sneeze. Yeah. No. I keep thinking I'm going to sneeze and I don't.
I love that pause.
Yeah, McDonald, I mean, you saw what his defense did with the Ravens. That pressure they could generate and how he was able to disguise the coverage. You didn't know if he was blitzing 8 players or he was going to drop back 5 of them. It was great. And he could translate. You can copy and paste that to the Seattle's defense. I mean, that'll take him over the top. Seattle is getting close. They had back-to-back winning seasons. You could see that they're almost there. With the Cardinals, they were competitive in a lot of their losses. I think they really see a future with Kyler Murray. I don't think they're going to draft a quarterback. I think they're going to just try to keep building around him. They got an offensive lineman in this past draft. I think they might continue addressing the line. They probably need to get younger at running back. Connor's really good, and he's still in his 20s, but they need to fix. And then they need a receiver.
Well, yeah, they need a couple, because look, Hollywood Brown is one of those that he'll have enough quantity where he'll flirt with 1,000 yards every year, but he just, when you look at him, there's just nothing about him that I think he impacts a game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like McBride. I think.
Oh, I do too. He's a really. We talked about this last year. The NFL went very devoid of tight ends for this 2-year vacuum, and we kept saying this isn't going to last. The game is being played in between the hashes right now, and we went from last year having no tight ends to this year. I mean, it all of a sudden feels like it seems like almost every team has either a tight end that's ready to be great, or he's going to be consistently good enough that he can be a pain in the ass.
Think about the Ravens. They got a great tight end now, and they have one that's going to be great in Isaiah Likely.
Yeah. And you got to go. Do they make a decision now, or they make a trade on that? Or are they going to run 22 personnel? And so, that's a good point. So let's go back to the questions. Jeremy asked,
how about the number 1 pick for the Bears?
Yeah, it's draft season. And what would you do if you're the Bears and the number 1 pick? Now, I think Noe and I both agree. I would keep Fields. I would draft Marvin Harrison Jr. I would maybe dangle down to 2 or 3 to see if you can get somebody to, give you a couple extra picks. But I just don't. And it's not that whether I feel that Fields is necessarily the best of the options. And I'm going to say this. I don't think Caleb Williams is the next whatever. We're doing that way too much with quarterbacks, man. In the last 10 years, every draft pick, high draft pick is the next, oh my God. Oh my! And then look who right now is the best quarterback in football, Patrick Mahomes. Nobody talked about that when he got drafted, but with Lawrence and with Caleb Williams and all, you get they do things that you've never seen before. Yeah, until you start throwing the ball out your ass, I've seen it before. So but anyway, I think you go with Fields and you keep building around him.
Yeah, I don't think there's an offensive lineman worthy of that number 1 overall pick in this draft. So getting Marvin's kid would be a good move for the Bears. They definitely should keep building around Fields. You saw how competitive they were going into the season. Their big issue was the line play, both sides. And they addressed one during the season by trading for Montez Sweat, who had a great half season with the Bears. So if they just keep doing that, I mean, they can find good talent in the 2nd and 3rd round. And they have a lot of picks this draft. The Cardinals have a lot of picks in this draft. So they can get good real quick.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Let's see. Is there any more questions? So let's go ahead as we wait now. Ken said, you think Harbaugh would give Cap a position on his staff? I've actually heard that might be a thing.
That would be good. I mean, Cap's a smart dude. He could only provide value, I would think.
What you could do like for San Francisco, I don't know if you remember, but Dr. Harry Edwards. He's a former Niner, and he went to medical school, got a psychology degree, and he did therapy and stuff. And so he kind of was that for the San Francisco forever. When the Cowboys were having their issues in the late 90s, Jerry Jones did something that a lot of people forget about, but he brought Calvin Hill on. And he became a mentor. And that literally everybody does that now. But again, that's one of those things that when you don't think about what Jerry Jones basically started. But anyway, so do that. I could see him bringing on like being the Los Angeles Chargers representative to the community or, something like that. And I think that'd be a great role for him.
And a lot of the players have immense respect for this guy too. Regardless of what you feel what your beliefs are about him taking a knee during the anthem. It was effective, raised awareness. It earned a lot of respect from players in all sports. You saw other sports do it. Megan Rapinoe did it in soccer for the U.S. women's soccer. So it was something that was very accepted overall. So I could definitely see him being hired in a coaching capacity of some sort.
But you bring up her, and hers started to become an issue when they weren't as good as people thought they were going to be. And it created some, and it's not even her fault, but it created some division in the team because people felt, instead of understanding that the rest of the world just finally have caught up with women's soccer, and women's soccer had kind of been resting on what it's done, that, hey, they're not the best team in the world. They started blaming that. And that's where you try to explain to people, like, do I think the NFL owners purposely didn't sign Colin? Yes. Is it all about the racism part? Some, but mostly it was they don't want the press, and the coaches don't. Even the coaches that like him didn't want the press. And coaches are, in theory and in practice alone, coaches are very conservative with their ideas, but more of, I just don't want anything to bother me in my preparation for football.
It's already hours that are spent preparing for a game, researching, scouting, adding that into it, and all the attention that it gets. It just would make it difficult.
Yep, no, I agree. All right. So let's go ahead and go back into, we were kind of talking about it a little bit earlier, but let's go ahead and go back to talking about the Super Bowl as we wait. This is
okay.
Yeah, I got the highlights from NFL. So they say video courtesy of NFL. Let's see if they actually pay attention to that and not knock us for monetization. But
oh, your dad says hi.
Oh God. That's great. What's he gonna say? No, he says hi to Noe. I like that.
Yeah.
So I want to say this Super Bowl was exactly like the NFL season was. Mm-hmm. It was kind of ugly. It's kind of boring at times, kind of scratch your head at times, but damn it, those last 3 minutes just absolutely saved it all. I mean, because this was a boring Super Bowl.
It was. It was boring. Now we've had 24 hours to think about it. I do appreciate the coaching and some of like the mental chess match that was going on during the game. I can appreciate it now, but when I'm watching the Super Bowl, I want one like from last year. It was 38-35 Kansas City. But yeah, in this one, I mean, I was telling you off air, I thought a punter or Moody or Bucker was going to win Super Bowl MVP. It should have happened in that Patriot Ram Super Bowl.
God, yeah, that's the worst one.
The Patriot punter was excellent in that game, but in this one it was pretty boring. Couple of big turnovers. The Juwan Jennings touchdown pass to McCaffrey was the main highlight of the entire half.
Hey, I want to say this. You want to talk about what Shanahan does well? We're all talking about what he doesn't do well because he's lost another Super Bowl. Nobody had Juwan Jennings on their scorecard being an impact in this game. And that is one thing that Shanahan does so well. And dare I about to give this person credit, but Josh McDaniel, when he's offensive coordinator, has done a good job of consistently in big games. You're going to get James White have 10 catches for 111 yards out of nowhere. I love coaches that have the balls to do that, because that takes balls to trust people that haven't, maybe not even have proved to you that they could do it. You're just going on this is what we hired you for, so do your job. And I love that.
Nice reference to James White, and that also references the first overtime Super Bowl, the epic Patriot Falcon game. The offensive coordinator for the Falcons was Kyle Shanahan.
And what happened in that game?
They lost in overtime. But you know what? That was under different overtime rules.
Yeah, that is true. But didn't both teams have the ball in that one?
Nope. Patriots won the toss.
And then went right down and scored? Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, I couldn't remember. I don't pretend I remember all those. All right, so we'd kind of been talking about this earlier, like where is this, the Chiefs are a dynasty now. 3 out of 5, first back-to-back in 20 years. You're a dynasty. In fact, I think that's the longest stretch it went with teams being back-to-back.
Yeah, 19 years. Yeah,
because basically whoever usually won team of the decade won a back-to-back. And then you even still had some like the Dolphins who weren't team of the decade, but they still won back-to-back. Mm-hmm. And so usually every 10 years you had at least one team win back-to-back. And then, like say in the 90s, you had 2. You had the Cowboys. Or no, you had the Cowboys and the Broncos. And then the Patriots, and then it just stopped. And it's the era of, everybody's around the same level because of the salary cap and stuff. And so now we have the Chiefs, who you just feel like as long as Andy Reid wants to, and as long as that front office keeps making smart decisions like, let's go let Chris Jones sit for a few weeks and then we'll bring him in on the deal that we still need the best. And it still turned out to be a team-friendly deal. It's hard to make those decisions, man, because the fans don't like you. Your players don't like you. You're losing. But sometimes you have to make those decisions.
Going into the offseason, some people would think Kansas City needs to get an actual number 1 receiver.
I agree.
Now, Rashee Rice might end up being that guy. We don't know yet.
I agree with that too.
To me, the biggest one is, what do you do with Chris Jones?
They've already said that they're going to sign him. So
will it be something that he'll agree to? Does he have the same mindset as Kelsey and Mahomes, where he just wants to win, or is he just going to go ahead, take his money, and go? He's going to turn 30 years old this year.
Okay, so now the thing about you saying that about Mahomes is getting paid $1 billion basically.
Yeah,
well, he's getting his money,
but he's willing to rework it.
Yeah, he's willing to rework it. I don't know. The thing with Jones is who's going to sign him. Are you going to get more somewhere else, or are you going to get just enough to, what?
Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas won't sign him. Dallas is not going to. It's going to take. Brandon Carr is the last Cowboy free agent that was signed. That was a big deal, and you can make the case that Carr played well, but he never played up to that contract. And so I just don't ever see Dallas doing that until Jerry's gone. I think that's one of his things that he's against. Now he claims that this year it's all in, so maybe you do. Maybe you sign that 1 year, $25 million deal for him and say, hey, come ride with us. That's a good question. So what? Okay, so we'll go ahead and focus in on that because again, this is happy hour. We can do what we want. So what do you think the Dallas Cowboys? What do they got to do? What is their offseason agenda?
Figure out the hole up the middle. So defensive tackles, linebackers. You need at least 2 linebackers. You need another 2 tackles. You need more depth on the offensive line. They're getting old along the line, so they need to upgrade that with youth. And then get 2 running backs, one via free agency and one via the draft. You need someone that's a home run hitter. You need someone that can get you the 2 or 3 crucial yards for that offense to work. And I think if you do that, you're in good shape. If you can keep Cooks came on toward the end of the season. I think just roll that into 2024 with the offseason, another offseason with this team, because the offense is going to stay the same. So just another offseason of them just gelling together, I think it'll be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the things they need to do for them to even attempt to be competitive. I do love them signing Mike Zimmer. I know that's we don't really know.
Yeah, let's talk about that now.
Yeah, I was so as of a few minutes before this show was starting. ESPN said that Mike Zimmer signed on for the Cowboys to be the defensive coordinator. He was previously a consultant for the Colorado Buffaloes with Deion Sanders. And of course, he was the head coach for the Vikings for most of the 2010s, I think 2014 to 2021. And then before that, he was a defensive coordinator for the Bengals, some good defenses during that time period. And then he was also former Cowboys defensive coordinator back. Was it during the Parcells days?
Yeah, well, he was a defense coordinator from 2000. He actually predated Parcells. He was the DC for Campo. And then they brought in Parcells, and Parcells decided to keep him. But he was also he is a true connection to the Super Bowl era. He was a defensive backs coach for the Super Bowl 95 Cowboys. He came first year was 94. Mm-hmm. My big concern with him is I don't want to go all out balls to the wall, Dan Quinn aggressive, but I also don't want to sit back. I don't want Micah Parsons to just become a 4-3 linebacker and get 200 tackles and make some impact. But I kind of feel like I want Dan Quinn's scheme and somebody else's, when to do what, if that makes sense. That's just the thing I'm worried about. I don't want to get too conservative on defense. I don't want to be a defense next year that doesn't get sacks, doesn't get turnovers, but they hold everybody to 3 points, because that's just going to be the same bad shit, just in a different way. Because, in a game that matters, a team will drive down on them. We've played that record for 30 years now.
Well, Zimmer has experience coaching 4-3, and then Parcells kind of taught him how to run a 3-4 defense. So he's pretty versatile. And in today's NFL, nickel's really
everybody runs nickel now.
Nickel's the 4-3 or 3-4 now. So you have 2 linebackers, you got your 4 down linemen, you got 5 secondary players. So it's the game has evolved, and I think he is a really good coordinator. He was a solid head coach, but he's a really, really great coordinator, and I'm really excited to see what he does. And I'm pretty sure he's smart enough to know how to use Micah Parsons.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying, like when you think of his scheme with Dallas, and you and I have talked about it, how good was that defense? Because and it was a good defense, folks. I just want to make the point of you were playing a team in Dallas who, if you basically scored 13 points, you would win. Because Dallas couldn't score to save their lives back then. So how great was the D, or how much was it where teams were like, look, we can get 16 and we can get out. Yeah. And you know, so that I don't know. I just and again, I knew this would happen no matter what. It's that thing of like you want change, but then you fear change, and I want change. I like what Dan Quinn idealistically brought to the Cowboys, but I think you saw this year he was getting outcoached game plan wise. He was just getting outcoached. San Francisco, all the good teams outcoached him. San Francisco outcoached him. Green Bay outcoached him. Even the Eagles struggling offensively still outcoached him when they needed big plays. And so I think that's one of those things where maybe that's where his issues are as a coach. With Zimmer, I'm not worried about that. I'm just worried that Zimmer's going to be always. I don't want to be edgy because I don't want to give up a big play, and I don't want to just be a team that catches everything in front and tackles.
Yeah, that's going to be an issue. He might be different this time around. Maybe with the talent he has here with DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons. If they address their linebacker situation, it could be a very special season. But who knows? I'm still a little jaded about the Cowboys 2024 prospect, but yeah, they're still going to be one of the top 5 teams in football. I know it, barring any major injuries. So we'll just see. We'll just see if they address everything I just said. Oh, they need another cornerback too. They just got lucky this offseason, or this past season.
Well, supposedly there's a push to keep Gilmore.
I would like that for at least one more year.
And I don't think you're going to, because Diggs he's going to take some time to come back from the ACL. And I still love the idea of Diggs and Gilmore and DeBland on the slot. Because for all the talk about what Bland was doing once Diggs got hurt, what he was doing in the slot was destroying offenses because he was not allowing the slot, which is basically everybody's kind of pseudo 1A option now. He wasn't letting them to work underneath. So yeah, I'd love for them to keep Gilmore. I think they've got to do the offensive line. You've got to, if you want to go with Tyron Smith, and again, that's fine. You better sign somebody that can play the 4 games, because he only missed 4 games. It felt like he missed a lot more. I'm fine if he misses 4 games a year. Just have somebody ready to draft that's sitting behind him that you can not only have when he's out, but also you're gearing him up to be your future left tackle.
Tyron Smith, I mean, he'll be in the Hall of Fame. It's so ridiculous how bad they look when he's not in the lineup. Yeah, they hit a home run with Tyler Smith. He'll be our future. I don't know if he'll stay at left guard or move to left tackle. They signed Lyle Collins, kind of hoping he works his way back into being a guard.
That's the question, though. So if he works his way back into, well, I don't know, dude. I don't know if I wouldn't rather have Lyle Collins than Terrence Steele right now at right tackle if he wanted to play tackle. I think Collins is, I mean, as long as he's still in shape and he's still playing okay, I think he's definitely one of those that you re-sign him, nobody's going to say anything. It's not going to be a big deal, but that's a quality, efficient free agent that knows your system. And dude, if you could get him to play tackle and maybe kick Tyler Smith out right tackle for a year or two, I mean, now you're talking about having a dominant offensive line, because that's the one thing I feel that they've got to refigure out that run game and that offensive line. And that's going to be where I think you're going to see Dallas talk about getting tougher this year. That's going to be the new mantra: get tougher, fight for those yards, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But again, running backs, who are they going to have out there? Because I'm guessing it's not going to be Pollard. I don't think he'll be back for 2024. I'd like for him to be back, but I want another person as well. I want a short yardage back.
I believe Derrick Henry is going to be a Dallas Cowboy.
I would love
I believe that is the most Jerry Jones thing to do, because the mantra on Jerry Jones and free agents has not been true for 20 years now. But boy, you want to get that restarted, bring in Derrick Henry and
20 years.
or Derrick Henry and another wide receiver. But DeAndre seems like he's going to be not playing for the Titans either. Bring those two on, and all of a sudden, even I might not be grumbling quite as much, and I might, God, son of a, start buying in again, because I watched enough Titans games that Hopkins is still guided at wide receiver. You don't need him to be a 1,500-yard guy. Just be an 800-yard guy with 9 touchdowns.
Well, remember 20 years ago, they got Eddie George, also a Titan. So let's just see.
George.
Huh?
Fall down George, as he became known as the Cowboy.
Yeah, all that tough running he did in his career with the Titans kind of. I mean, we only saw like one good game out of him that whole season, and then Julius Jones kind of popped up in the second half of that season.
You want to have the angry show where I talk about how Bill Parcells, everybody thinks what he did was so great for Dallas, how he put the franchise back 10 years because of his offensive line drafting and his running back drafting. Anyway, I have a very big love-hate with Parcells because I love what he did, but I see that draft and I see what was left with, and again, Tony Romo having to drag some really crappy teams to 8-8. That's great fodder though for shows. But yeah, I see Derrick Henry. That feels like a Jerry Jones thing. I
would love it. I mean, it seems like Derrick Henry's time in Tennessee is over. They're going to go a different direction with Brian Callahan. They might keep Levis. I mean, they might make him more of a long-term starting quarterback. I don't think they're going to redo that, but
no, they're happy with him.
Yeah, he has a good arm. He's showing flashes of what he could do. His connection with Hopkins was really good, but yeah, like you said, I don't think Hopkins will be back. I think he's going to go to a contender of sorts. So yeah, I don't think it'll be San Francisco. Could be KC. I could definitely see that happening. That would be dangerous.
Yeah, no, I could see him. I think if you were to go top 3 spots, it would be KC, Dallas, and then I'll throw a wild card out there, Chicago.
I was going to say Buffalo, but yeah, pairing DJ Moore with Hopkins would be what Fields would definitely need. And then you put Mooney as a third receiver. That would make the Bears probably have the best 3 receivers in football.
But yeah, if you put him with Buffalo, and because they're not getting rid of Stephon Diggs, but Gabe Davis is probably going to walk. He's a number 2.
Yeah,
he's one I wouldn't mind Dallas look at, but he's very inconsistent. Just when I start to like a player, I go to their team stuff and start seeing what their fans say. And he's very inconsistent, and you see it in the regular season. If you ever have him on fantasy, you would know. He'll give you 3 for 85 and a touchdown, and then 5 straight weeks of 3 for 20, 3 for 20, and then that 6th week 7 for 142, and that's great, but it's frustrating. I guess it's generic, and we've done this before. I know this, Noe, but it just feels like Dallas. It's going to be all about we need to toughen up, figure it out. When the chips are down, don't fall. It feels like it's going to be that type of year. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I do still believe, maybe full-heartedly, that Dak Prescott in this era of the Cowboys will at least make an NFC title game. I still believe that.
He's only 30. He turns 31 later this year. He's kind of playing in his prime right now.
He played his best football last year. No, we can joke about who he played and all that, but you can make the case that Dak Prescott probably should have won the MVP.
He finished second to Lamar Jackson. But yeah, that stretch run he had after the 49er or Eagle loss. No, it was after the 49er loss. Because he had a good game against the Eagles in that loss. Yeah, it was a great 6-game stretch, and they kind of put him in the forefront. But again, I'm not saying it's his fault, but the last 3 years, the Cowboys, if they played a team that was good to great, they would lose.
Well, that's why I was talking about you're going to hear that in the all season about we got to learn to fight and, carry our lunch pail to work. And when the score's down, you got to dig deep and all. We're going to hear all that this all season.
I mean, the Chiefs just won their 3rd Super Bowl in 5 seasons with no clear number 1 wide receiver. Obviously, Travis Kelce's their number 1 option, but You see them do that, and then Spagnuolo, one of the greatest defensive coordinators of all time, just had the perfect assembly of players at his disposal, and you saw how effective that Chiefs defense was. Trent McDuffie's turning to a megastar. I mean, he sticks to the best receiver like glue. I was watching a lot of the times I'll go back and watch just certain players just to see what the hype's about. But like watching McDuffie the Super Bowl, he'd be Ayuk and McDuffie would not be this. He'd be maybe like this far apart. He was just so athletic. He's just able to. He plays smart, a little aggressive, but he plays smart. Yeah, to me, he's the best cornerback. He was the best cornerback this season. He's going to quickly become the best cornerback in football.
No, I totally agree. And let's talk about that, because you and I've been doing a little bit of old man off my lawn, a little bit about football. And one of the things that really annoy me now is like when you talk about anything like corners, we'll bring corners up because you bring up him, but like corners, like somebody else say, oh, I think, Deron Bland's best corner in football. Yeah, but against Seattle, he gave up 100. Like they expect every corner to never give up a big play. I was going back again, 83 Cowboys, 81 Cowboys, 82 Cowboys, 84 Cowboys, 85 Cowboys. Everson Walls, Dennis Thurman Thieves, led the league over that 4 years in interceptions, led the league in pick sixes, also led the league in most yards given up, also led the league in most touchdowns given up, because at that point, Landry was the king of the blitz. I mean, we're talking 90% blitz at this point. But it worked. They still went 12-4 because it's okay to give up a play. And I don't know. It's the social media, I guess. It's just the instant information. Sauce Gardner gives up 3 catches and people, maybe he's not the best. No, Sauce Gardner's still the best. He's going to give, I don't know. It's just weird, especially in today's NFL where teams just throw the ball so much more.
Yeah, you're going to see excellent cornerbacks give up big plays. L'Jarius Sneed, he gave up a big one in the AFC title game to Zay Flowers. 2 plays later, he causes a strip fumble that goes in the end zone on Zay Flowers. So, yeah, it's going to happen. That's not the problem. But yeah, Sauce Gardner's giving up big plays. McDuffie's giving up big plays. Like I said, Sneed, McDuffie's teammate, he gives up big plays, but when they really need it, they're there.
Yeah, I agree. So let's go back on the Super Bowl. Let's talk all the stuff around the Super Bowl. I didn't get to watch halftime. Jenny, my fiance, she nice enough, was willing to hang out and watch the game with us, and she has to get up really early. So at halftime, she was falling asleep, so I knew it was time to go. So I didn't get to see halftime. Usher, again, all halftimes it's 50-50. Everybody either loves them or hates them. There's never any let's just give our honest opinion. What were your thoughts on it?
It was like 11, 12 minutes, but it was excellent. Usher was one of my first favorite singers, artists back in 97, 98.
Yeah.
And he played most of the old school stuff. He had some of his newer hits too. But yeah, and then like you see the surprise, because I don't look up to see who else is going to be there. One of my all-time favorite artists is Alicia Keys. She made an appearance. She looked like a knockout.
Mm-hmm.
So there she was there, and then Jermaine Dupri, who's looking like a miniature CeeLo Green, was there. And the big surprise was Ludacris. I didn't know he was going to be there, but he came out the end. It was fantastic. Usher he's one of the best dancers out there. So there was a great performance. It was a great Super Bowl performance. The one 2 years ago in LA, still my favorite, was Snoop and all them and Dre.
Oh, so you only like it when rappers. What about if it was Willie Nelson and the ghost of Toby Keith? Would you like that? Because America would. No, sorry. No, that's probably, my favorite's Prince.
Prince was great, yeah.
Because what made Prince great is it was the year after the Janet Jackson thing, and the NFL was not smart enough to realize that the most sexualized performer in the history of performance would come out with a penis-shaped guitar and shadow sing and play it for half the. I love that. I was already a big Prince fan back in the day, but he was generally one of those when he passed. I might have shed a tear. That was like, golly, that was one of the guys I grew up on. But anyway, Yeah, so I didn't get to see it yet. I did see the ludicrous, I call it run in like wrestling.
Yeah.
The commercials, even when we were at your house, they were fine. But humor has been lost. We are a humorless society right now, period. We are a humorless society. And the right going to say it's because people are woke, and the people on the left going to say it's because you can't be, you don't want to be mean. I don't care why. I'm just making a point. We just don't laugh anymore. We don't have fun anymore. And you can tell it in the commercials. A couple of them were funny, but like usually that's what 90% of your commercials were going to be humorous. And that's just lost now.
Yeah, a lot of comedians would agree with you. It is kind of lost. They have to do Netflix specials like Dave Chappelle did. Back when we were growing up, you could just have Richard Pryor, George Carlin, all-time great comedians, and they would say a lot of inappropriate things, especially stuff now you could not say. So yeah, it is different. The humor is different. But I will say this: my favorite commercial was the Deadpool trailer, and Ryan Reynolds has a way to bring humor, and that was hilarious. I'm looking forward to that movie in July.
I am too. I have a feeling we'll be seeing that together at some point.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what he does in the MCU, how he's going to be introduced. I think he's a great character for it because he breaks the fourth wall, so he'll bring up anything.
Could he save them after the whole Jonathan Majors? And let's be honest, Marvel was already having a crap year. Fair or not, I think some of the stuff's valid. I do think that there's a crowd of people that only think everything is woke now, so they just hate anything that doesn't have a white male as the lead. But I do think Marvel has been, backsliding, and I don't necessarily think it's anything they've done. I think it was inevitable. Nothing ever is great forever. We've had a comic book genre era longer than we've had any other movie era. I mean, this is 20 years basically. But I think that if you do Deadpool right, he could save what has been a really crappy year and a half for Marvel.
He's called himself Marvel Jesus, so I think that's the idea. He's going to probably find a way to, he's going to be probably the catalyst for merging the X-Men into the universe, Fantastic Four. They've already been hinting at that, and then the last shot of the trailer was him on the ground and Wolverine about to pick him up in a Wolverine way with its claws. And there was a comic book right next to Deadpool, and it was titled Secret Wars, and it had Doctor Doom.
No.
So that might be the Kang replacement. I think they might write Kang off and just replace him with Doctor Doom, which would be, as long as they get the right Doctor Doom to play the role, then.
So my thing with Kang, and you know this, and by the way, this is OutDrank The Coverage. We do, I know we're normally football, but you can't really see it, but I promise you it says sports, food, movies, and booze. We do movies. I'm not a comic book guy. You know that. We've talked about this before, but I've had appreciation for when they had good shows and stuff. I never, and this has nothing to do with Jonathan Majors, I never liked that character's story. It's unique in a way because he basically keeps trying and failing through all the years, but that's like a 5-minute montage, and then they get, okay, great, what else? I think 10 years from now, they're going to look back and realize that might have been the best thing that didn't happen, and they were able to. They need to get smart again. They're in a talent lull, and so now they need to get better. And so the way you do that is you start thinking outside the box. And I think they need to get back to thinking outside the box.
That would, yeah. And I think with someone like Deadpool, they could do that. But yeah, Kevin Feige, kind of the guy, the czar of the MCU, he had this 20-year plan back in 07, 08. So that plan's almost about to expire by 2028. And kind of seeing what's going to happen, merging the different MCU or Marvel genres, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four. I think that's what they need to do. They just need to get the casting correct. That because getting Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah,
but they got him for cheap. It was like $250,000 to play Iron Man, but that was because he had just gotten out of jail. He had done Tropic Thunder and another movie, so he was kind of working his way back into the graces of society.
Yeah.
and then he plays Iron Man, and like he looked like someone that was born to play that role, kind of like Ryan Reynolds was born to play Deadpool.
I was just about to say that, just like Ryan Reynolds was born to play Deadpool.
Yeah,
I mean, the Tony Stark that even I knew of was fast talking salesman, go go go, and that's exactly what Robert Downey Jr. does well. Same thing with Deadpool and the Smartass.
Yeah,
which still makes me just Ryan Reynolds' first role as Deadpool, and you shut him up by sewing his mouth together. I just, why do people like? I understand. What I learned when I was in theater, it's called ice cream. And it's, you want to give the audience enough ice cream that they love it. But, you know, if you give somebody too much ice cream, they don't like it. And so I know the idea is, you know, when you have a plot, you don't want to give the fans everything they want fully, because that's just fan service and it doesn't necessarily tell a good story. But all these people, whether it be Transformers, G.I. Joe, early Marvel, not much as much now, but early Marvel, any of those, this idea of subverting your expectations just gets annoying, because you just don't do what everybody actually wants you to do. Just do that once and see what happens.
Dude, I couldn't agree more. So yeah, looking forward to that movie in July, and then next month when we do the Roadhouse review.
So yeah, let's talk about that.
That's gonna be awesome.
All right, so this is great because we're getting close to, like I said, these happy hours will be at least an hour every time, and sometimes it'll be a little bit longer, but usually right at an hour. And we're a little bit over an hour, and we've kind of talked ourselves out. But
we haven't even talked about the Super Bowl that much.
Well, I mean, hey, again, it's Patrick Mahomes. He's amazing. They're a dynasty. Go F everybody. Damn it. When will Dallas ever be good again? But damn it, now I've lost my train of thought. Thanks a lot. Roadhouse. So what we're doing next month, this is technically our first off-season show, and then we're going to have OutDrank The Coverage, the special look back at Pete Carroll, Nick Saban, and Bill Belichick. That one will drop probably next week. And then the next week we'll drop the league season 5, I think is where we left off. We already recorded it last year. It's going to be funny because the studio still looks like it was when it was kind of getting changed every week, and now it's kind of got a set style. But anyway, also we're going to do what's called if you know TV, a backdoor pilot. And what a backdoor pilot is like you'd have a character on one show show up for a few episodes, and then you would then follow them as they moved on to their own thing. So that's what you and I have been wanting to do this for a while. This is something I wanted to do to where it wasn't just you and me. It encompassed other people. And it's called Bad Movies and a Drink. And it's just, it's just like everybody else. We all watch bad movies. We all love it. And so we were going to do that anyway. But then about 2 weeks ago, I don't know I don't know if I've even seen porn on the internet that made me this happy. I just randomly find Jake Gyllenhaal, and I saw it in a meme, and he was quoting nobody really wins a fight. And I was like, what movie is that in? Because that's a Roadhouse line. Was it on Saturday Night Live? So I typed it in, and no, there's a movie coming out in March, Roadhouse, Jake Gyllenhaal, where at times it's word for word a remake, like literally word for word. I'm in. I can't wait to see this. So that's going to be our first Bad Movies and a Drink. You and I are going to watch both of the movies, and then we're going to talk about it. And that's going to be the first one. We're going to have so much fun doing that one.
I'm excited to see what McGregor does. Yeah, he bulked up a little bit. He has that walk. It's just, to me, it's him making fun of himself. But it's going to be one of those bad movies, and I'm just really excited. I hope it lives up to my hype.
Well, and me too. And let's be honest. I have a very wide berth for this. Just don't poop on the film for 25 minutes straight, and I'm probably going to like you because I just love Roadhouse. But if Conor McGregor does it, he could be the one thing that I've always thought was the weakness of the original, is the bad guy that you really want to see him fight is Ben Garza, the old man, and you can't just have Patrick Swayze beat him up for 30 minutes. So you have to bring in the other guy. And now he's a big time Christian right-wing actor and stuff. And he seems like he's a pretty nice guy, but he wasn't the greatest actor. And so, you could tell. And so maybe Connor can kind of be the best of both of those. Because so far, just from what I saw, I loved the way Jake Gyllenhaal was giving his lines. I loved he had this almost like it's a little different. Like in the original, and it's funny because the original plot would work better now. There's this network of bouncers that people know about. Wasn't that what the internet would be? I mean, seriously, the internet, that's what you would know.
Yeah.
Like Jenny, my fiance, she's worked in restaurants for 25 years. She says that there were message boards and stuff to where you could go and talk about certain people. So that would make sense in today's era. But in this one, Jake Gyllenhaal looks like he's a former MMA fighter, and he kind of tapped out and kind of goes a little, wanderless, and then they bring him on. I think it's gonna depend though on the rest of the cast, because that's what makes Roadhouse so fun. It's not just Patrick Swayze and Ben Garza, but it's Terry Funk. You and I, Terry, rest in peace, Mr. Funk. Have a drink. Have a drink. To Terry Funk from West Texas.
The man from the Double Cross Ranch.
But it wasn't just Patrick Swayze. I mean, it was Terry Funk. It was the singer. It was the chick that was like in the first part of the movie, and then they realized like she's like a guy. Let's just kind of kick her out. All that though. So that's going to be what makes this movie good or not, in my opinion.
Yeah, because that lady, Carrie Ann, I guess,
Yeah.
she was supposed to be the big co-star in this.
Yep, that's how it started.
Yeah, but then of course Sam Elliott, your dad's doppelganger, Wade Garrett. He was my favorite part of that whole movie. And then Kelly Lynch played the doctor girlfriend.
Most handsome girl there was.
Yeah, Kevin Teague. He's a longtime comedian. He had that great scene in the restroom where he changed the
Buick.
Yeah.
For a good time called Buick. Or no, for a good Buick call.
Yeah. Red West is Red Webster. Sunshine Parker, the Emmett, so the guy that owned the ranch or the barn, and he rented.
So the bartender, the guy that gets fired for putting money in the one that he's bucking when he shoots the shotgun.
Yeah.
His real name is John Doe.
Oh, okay.
And he is a well-known punk drummer.
I could see that.
Yeah, he's a big time musician, very anarchy, very, turn the world upside down. Yet he's also plays the drummer in Pure Country, which is a country movie that's as right wing as you can get. But yeah, so he's again, Roadhouse grabbed me before I even knew that people thought it was a fun, bad movie. Like, I knew it was a bad movie, don't get me wrong, but it was a fun, bad movie. That's all I want this one. The big fear I have in anything that we're going to watch this year, I'll go back to what I said 10 minutes ago. We're not a fun group anymore. Nobody is just laughing and having fun, and everybody's, and I get it. The world sucks, but you know what? The world sucked back in the 80s too. The world sucked in the 90s. The world always sucks. You can either sit in it and just marinate in that suckage, or you can try to make the best of it. And I just want them to make this movie be fun. I don't want hidden meaning. I don't want all that.
This conversation reminds me of Jim Valvano at the 93 ESPYs, where he basically said human beings, they have to laugh, they have to cry.
Yeah.
They have to say, I love you, embrace your fellow person. Yeah, we do a lot of crying nowadays, but we don't do a lot of laughing. And I think that just morally, like for just what's good for the soul, I think
okay,
healthy balance there.
You're wrong. All right.
Okay.
So this is me. I'm reenacting. This is me as the Packers game clocks to 0. So see, I was laughing. I was crying.
You were embracing your fellow drink.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's going to be what we're going to be doing. The off-season shows, a bad movie, or bad movies and a drink, or a bad movie and a drink, however you want to call it. And then we're going to be doing what we did last year, our retrospectives. We don't really know what we're going to be doing. The off season kind of came upon us quick, so much stuff we've been doing and all the other shows. but we're gonna do something. Last year we looked back at all the Cowboys Super Bowl years. We'll have a potpourri of stuff. We'll figure it out. But that's gonna be like last year. Basically, we'll have 3 new shows a month in the off season. We'll have a live draft show again. You're gonna come in studio, and we're gonna do that like we did last year. We'll have 2 live streams a month. So we're basically gonna be dropping new content basically weekly through the off season as well. When you add up the off season weekly shows and then the 2 streaming. So we finally are making that move from being just a show that talks the NFL to where we're doing everything: sports, food, movies, and booze. And so and that's what this off season. Last year we laid the foundation of our football. Now we're laying the foundation of everything else on this type of show, because this is a show that you and I feel that one day basically kind of becomes its own network with its shows on it, like Bad Movies and a Drink and stuff like that.
Also, think about it. We have a potential new short video that we're going to be debuting this season too.
Yeah, it's called OutDrank The Coverage Shots, and that's where intern Noe and I give out quick tidbits that you might not know in amusing and interesting ways. Let's just say shots might be had at a funeral. I'm just saying. We'll see. We'll come out there. And we're doing all types of stuff. And if you have any thoughts or questions on things that you would like to see us do or talk about, anything sports-wise, anything. Again, we led off last year with football, and we're always probably going to be heavy football, because that's just what our at the end of the day, the big sport that we watch, and then what I do full time and stuff. But we talk everything. I mean, and so that's why we're eventually, like, some of these weekly or these bi-weekly streams are going to be basically talking about like baseball. In June, let's talk to the Rangers, where they're at, that kind of stuff. So if you have any questions or ideas for shows, email us, odtcnfl@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter @OutDrankU. You can also find us on Facebook. Just type in OutDrank The Coverage. Do you have anything else you'd like to add before we wrap her up?
I mean, it's kind of funny that we didn't really talk about the Super Bowl that much, or the NFL awards, or the extra coaching moves. But dude, this is a blast, man. It was just I think I'm excited about more of these shows, and we'll probably talk about the Rangers, the Stars. It's just kind of a good year for DFW sports.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. It's funny you said that, because we were talking about this a little bit last night. It came out of nowhere. I mean, like, you look at 2019, 2020, the Stars make the Stanley Cup. It was weird. It was odd. It was awesome. But everybody was like, yeah, this was a great one-off. Salary cap is right up on the level. They're paying Tyler Seguin and they're paying Jamie Benn way too much money. They don't have a goalie. They don't have depth. And they re-signed Joe Pavelski. And then all of a sudden, Jason Robertson and Rupe Hintz finally perform like they're able to. And Miro Heiskanen. And then Jake Ottinger, at least I still have doubts about him. I know nobody else does. I hope I'm wrong. But all of a sudden, the Stars transitioned from being a one and done to, I mean, they're set for the next 5 years. And that doesn't mean they're going to go far every year. They might not even make the playoffs every year. But in the next 5 years, they're going to at least be in the Western Conference Finals again, which is where they were last year.
Record-wise, they're number 3 in the NHL, behind Vancouver, who's finally ascended, and Boston.
Is Vancouver this year's Boston? To where they just shoot out to this record, and you're like, holy crap, they're finally doing it. But then when they get in the first round, they're gonna kerplunk.
I think they're just a young team that finally is clicking and gelling together.
The goalie play's been amazing.
The goaltending play's been amazing. I mean, Connor Hellenbrook for Winnipeg might actually win like the Vezina. And
I think he started out so strong that even if he has a couple weeks of struggling, he's still going to be top 5 in everything. And Jake Ottinger started slow, and he's been hurt. And he's finally rounding into form. And it's funny you talk about them. They're top 3 in points. And I get lost in that. And they'll like that they went 5-5. I was like, golly, man, what, dude? They're struggling. I go look at the standings, and of course everybody's like 5-5. I have to remind myself, oh yeah, there's lulls involved. I got to get out of the football mindset where you've only got 17 games. In hockey, you're going to have bad weeks, and it's okay. Baseball's the same way. But yeah, see, that's the kind of stuff we're going to talk about. Rangers, they're good. The Mavericks, I don't know what they are, but at least they're interesting. That's the one thing you can say about them, because I think I like to listen to The Ringer. That's Bill Simmons, his stuff. He used to be on ESPN, but Ryan Russillo's on his show now, and he was just kind of talking NBA, and he brought up the Mavericks. He goes, Mavericks, I can see them not making the playoffs. I can see them winning the NBA. That's just how they are. And I was like, that's literally the best way to describe the Mavericks. When they're good, dude, they're really good. But then they can just disappear for 5 games defensively.
And they made some trades during the trade deadline, and they've won 4 games in a row. It's
Good
very
trade, apparently.
yeah. They're 7 games out of the 1 seed in the loss column. So yeah, I mean anything can happen. Right now, Minnesota and the Clippers are leading the West. You know those 2 teams aren't gonna make the finals. Thunder, they're young and dumb and full of energy.
Oh,
energy.
point blank.
Yeah, so it's to me, it's wide open. The West is wide open, just like the Wild West of the 1800s.
All right, so let me ask you this, and of course, you got to take out last year's Rangers.
Yeah.
Who's the next DFW team to win a championship and win?
Stars.
I think so. The Stars too. I don't know if it's this year, but I think it could be this year.
Yeah, this year would be a good year because Vancouver. They're a really good young team, but young teams usually find a way to mess up in the playoffs.
And especially in hockey. Hockey is the king of the first round upsets.
This will be their learning season.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, they're. I don't expect them to make it to the finals, but I expect them to be competitive. Maybe a second round exit. Stars have been here. I can see the Stars making another trip back to the conference finals. It just depends on who else comes out to play in the West. It could be Colorado, given the Stars' issues in the second round, if they make the second round. I'm excited. I'm probably more excited about the hockey playoffs than the basketball one. The basketball one seems more predictable, if I'm not.
I don't know. Again, old man. There was a time when I didn't miss a playoff game in basketball. I've told you about this when I lived in Longview, and then my future college roommate, me and him we worked at the same athletic club, and we'd get off and we'd go over to Chili's or to Applebee's and just watch on TNT the New York Miami game 1, transition to Indiana versus Boston game 2, and then the night game. We would be there all night. I just can't do that with basketball anymore. And I don't even know why. Like, there's no reason. It's not, you can say the game's changed. It hasn't really changed that much. It's not that. I just don't engage in basketball as much as I used to.
Yeah, it's funny because you said you and him were big into college basketball too,
Oh, yeah,
right?
we're big into college, huge, like multiple. I'm talking like 20 or 30 brackets during the brackets and things like that.
This is kind of the best time to be a college basketball fan because it could be anybody that wins the championship. UConn kind of came out of nowhere last season, and it was UConn and 3 teams that had no business being there. Like
Texas spit the bit in the Final 8. I still think Texas, if they make the Final 4 with that grouping, they win the championship. But I mean, it's just how it works, man. It's basketball.
Right now, UConn and Purdue are dominating the men's side, but you could easily see them being bounced out in the Sweet 6. I just like the fact that Indiana State is back in the top 25 for the first time since Bird in '79.
The Sycamores.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I kind of glossed over it the first time. So last night, after the Super Bowl, I restarted Winning Time.
Oh, great series.
I am really, really sad that it's not going to get to tell the whole story. Like, I don't get why that was canceled. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I don't get it. It must have been salary issues or something because that was a great series. I really hope someone else picks it up because it was only 2 seasons and they kind of just did little blurbs about what happened for the rest of the 80s. I mean, that they should have ended that series with Magic Johnson doing the press conference in '91 saying he had HIV. That should have been the logical ending, but they ended it after season 2. And
I have that's still, we talk about, as a kid, your views on teams, and as an adult, how they change. You realize humans, blah, blah, blah. But as a kid, Showtime was one of my teams. When I was a kid, it was Lakers, it was Rangers, Astros, Cowboys, Oilers, Saints, Mavericks too, to an extent. And I guess Rockets too. But I love because back then, I'm old enough to remember when CBS still did everything tape delayed. Like the NBA Finals would be tape delayed. And so we didn't have regional coverage. So you only saw the Lakers, the Celtics, the Bucks, the 76ers, the Mavericks. The Mavericks in the late 80s were really good. How they played the Lakers in Western Conference Finals. And so you saw a little bit of them, but so I only saw the teams I saw, and so the Lakers, I just loved them. Loved the colors. Also Fletch, he was a big Laker fan. I love Fletch, the movie. And so anyway, that watching that just man, you're talking about nostalgia just hitting me right there. Because again, that was in a time when I was a basketball fan, that's all I thought of in that moment was basketball. And I guess that's how I've always been with every sport. In the moment, that's the sport I love the most.
Yeah, me growing up, I started watching sports in the early 90s, and the Mavericks were pretty bad. They had a young nucleus with
See, that's where I became a Maverick fan, was in that era.
Jamal Mashburn, Jason Kidd, Jimmy Jackson. They were winning 12, 13 games a season. So it was hard for me to be a Mavericks fan. I still loved their uniforms. I still loved, their DFW teams. I'm going to support them, but I would switch over to WGN and watch the Bulls play.
Oh, yeah.
Then baseball, Rangers were like 500 teams. Sometimes they have some good years. But then I just switch over and watch the Cubs or the White Sox play. I actually liked the White Sox. They were probably, them and the Braves were probably my favorite teams back then. I still would root for the Rangers, but the White Sox were good. Blackjack McDowell.
When the White Sox changed their uniforms, that was iconic. Yeah. And part of it is, again, this is, pop culture. Part of it is the color of the hat and everything. It got kind of ingrained in black rap and black culture. But the White Sox, man, when they changed those uniforms, that was such a so my last I don't want to call it Little League, but City League team I ever played for was the White Sox. And we were so excited because we got the black Sox hat. And that was so awesome. And,
well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember hearing guys say they liked wearing, especially in California, they loved wearing Raider uniforms and White Sox hats because they were non-gangster uniforms. Yep. So they wouldn't just be shot randomly for no reason.
Yep.
So that was kind of the initial popularity of those black and white colors. And they look great. The White Sox uniforms look great back then. And then, the Raiders, obviously, iconic look.
We finally got to have that show this year.
What?
The uniform show.
It is our favorite thing. End zones, uniforms, or fields. Yeah.
Hats, all that. We're going to have to figure it out. We might have to maybe each month we do one of a different sport. Like, of course, we'll start NFL and then go to, and we'll rank them. There we go. We just figured out some of our off-season stuff. We'll rank them from worst to last. And we'll do it. Us, we got to go more than one. We'll do a current rank and a historical rank. Yeah. Some teams might not look great now, but historically they looked really good. Dude, you know what? I think we have killed our first happy hour, brother.
I think so. I think we did a great job. Hour and a half in.
Well, I mean, I carried the show, but whatever you think. Anyway,
of course,
we do appreciate everybody joining us. I know at one point we had over 4,000 people here in the chat and talking and listening, and watching, and we do appreciate that, folks. And we'll be back in a couple weeks. Again, we'll be posting all on our social media whenever we're going to do one of these. But basically, we're going to try to do them every 2 weeks or 2 times in a month, depending on each month. But anyway, until next time, he's intern Noe. I'm Terry Bennett. This is OutDrank The Coverage, brought to you by Grandeur Pet Solutions on L4 Media.